Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. This is to share top 10 tips if you are looking to pass a certification exam. Some of the tips are based on my experience and some are quite obvious, and the rest is personal preference. So with that, let me reveal the top 10 tips. Number one, I would suggest don't overlook training, okay, unless you are an experienced consultant. If you're experienced, if you worked on a specific module for a number of years, you may want to review the user guide, implementation guide, and you may want to appear for the exam. But if the topic is new to you, and if you are a bit inexperienced, I would strongly recommend taking the training. So that is needless to say, but that is quite important. Now, for my exams, I took the Oracle Delivered Partner training. So that I found it useful for taking my HCM Cloud and Talent Cloud certification. Now, on Recruiting Cloud, I simply went through the user guide and implementation guide because I had some experience to help me with that. Okay, and when it comes to renewal, again, it will be helpful. But when it is renewal time, you may want to look at the specific topics that are included since your previous certification rather than going through the entire training again. Okay, now number two, once you finish your training, I would suggest to book your exam straight away. Don't leave it long, don't leave it far. I would normally try to fit in within a month, and when I did my previous exams, that is what exactly I did. Okay, because if you leave it long, you would find it extremely hard. Okay, so I would suggest get it in. And if you are a morning person, you may want to book your slot in the morning, like me. However, if you are a evening person like my daughter, you may want to book a slot, maybe the last slot in the day. And also when it comes to the day, you may want to be choosing the day. And I took all my exams during the weekend. That is my personal preference. And I mean, if you want to take it on any other weekdays, that is absolutely fine. Some people prefer Fridays because Fridays they're usually happier, usually calmer. So you may want to fit in. Okay, depending on the day you want to take and depending on the time that you want to take. Okay, number three, once you have booked your slot, you may want to consider that as a sprint. Okay, so I mean, if you need say 40 hours to do your certification exam, I would my preference would be to fit in within a week or two. Try to get it in, not necessarily doing 1 hour here, 1 hour there, and spreading that over few months. So that you may find it difficult, especially, right, some of the questions are very specific. It is not to test your process knowledge, or it is not to test your functional knowledge. It is essentially to test whether you can actually remember the navigation, remember sections in the page, remember certain fields or terminology. And if you kind of spread it so thin, you would find it difficult to remember those. Okay, number four, you may want to review the exam topics. Okay, so when I went through my first two exams, I went through the whole topics like the user guide and implementation guide. I went through every single line a couple of times. But when it comes to my recruiting exam, I was focusing on exam topics as a priority, although as consultants we need to review all the topics. But you may want to prioritize the exam topics. And if you compare the exam topics with the user guide and implementation guide, you will notice that there are a lot more topics in the guides when compared to the exam guides. Okay, so you may want to prioritize that. Right now, number five is you may want to consume one topic at a time, not necessarily trying to consume a lot. Okay, so my personal preference is I try to consume a topic. Okay, take a short break and go for a walk. And if you're a tea lover, if you're a coffee lover, you may want to treat yourself with the tea and coffee. And if you're a chocolate lover, that is even better. So you can treat yourself. And that break, I think that is important, because you would want to kind of reflect on what you learned. You would want to digest and consume what you learned before you take on additional topics. Okay, so I would strongly recommend that. Now, number six, you may be you may be, you may want to be wary of the mock exams that are out there. So I personally haven't looked at any of the mock exams or any of the questions in there. But speaking to my colleagues and speaking to my friends, what I notice is I think some of the answers may be misleading. You may think this is the answer, but the mock questions and answer may say something else. So some of the answers are incorrect as well. So you may want to watch out that. Okay. Number 7 is you would want to have a good night sleep before the exam. Don't try to fit everything at the last minute, and don't try to stay awake the whole night and appear the exam pretty tired. So you'd want to take a good night sleep. And if you're a religious person, you may want to fit in your prayers. And if you are a spiritual person like me, you may want to fit in your spiritual routines. May it yoga practice, or may it a breathing routine or a meditation routine. You may want to fit in that, so that you would find it really helpful. Now number 8. Okay, so before you start the exam, right, I would suggest take some long deep breath to calm yourself down. And when you start the exam, you may want to start with a smile. Okay, for having done all the hard work and to reach to this point, you would want to start with a smile, and that helps you to calm your nerves to get into the exam, right? Number 9, once you finish the exam, okay, only 2 results are possible. If you manage to pass the exam successfully, pat yourself on the back, well done. And you may want to celebrate. However, if you are unlucky this time, I would suggest still pat yourself on the back for having done all the hard work, and at least you attempted, you tried this exam, right? And remember 2 things. Okay, I've seen some experienced and exceptionally talented consultants finding it extremely hard to pass these exams. So it is not that easy. And secondly, it is not the end of the world, right? So you can always, review the feedback, revise those topics, and always, try again. Okay, so don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, so that's what I would say. And finally, okay, I think this is something that I do. So after the exam, although I managed to pass all my 3 certification exams on the first attempt, I was very lucky. So sit and reflect and try to recollect everything that was asked, and try to pick up on your gray areas. And you may want to get answers for those gray areas by reaching out to your colleagues or looking at the user guide and implementation guide. That is particularly helpful if you're trying to appear for the exam again, or it would be helpful if you're trying to renew your exam sometime in the future. Okay, so either way, I would suggest recollect and identify the gray areas and get answers for that. Okay, so that concludes the top 10 tips that I managed to compile, and I hope you found this useful. And if you have any tips or suggestion, you may want to put it in the comment box. And I wish you all the very best for your certification exams. Thank you. Bye bye.